Hello everybody, welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with me, your host Jay. Today is my Panel by Panel comic review, so let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we get too far into this, guys, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button and that subscribe button as well so you never miss any of my nearly daily comic book content, even though it is not about to be daily because I'm going on a vacation from June 1st to June 9th. So there will be no videos and most likely no shorts posted throughout those times, but I will be back June 10th. I believe that is New Comic Book Day as well, so that actually works out pretty good, but I'll be back then. And now let's go ahead and start the rankings off. We have 14 total books, and coming in at the bottom, we have Gotham Academy. This is issue 4, Gotham Academy first year. Now the thing with this book is, it's interesting because the first 3 titles came out in October, November, December. And now they took a 5-month hiatus. I'm not quite sure why, but it really, you could tell that that was a huge impact in this book. Like, the art is solid, but the story is so confusing. Now, I'm interested to know if that was part of the decision to make this book a 5-month delay so that you feel as confused as Olive Silverlock, who is the main character in this issue. And she continuously has these in and outs, like somebody's controlling her body for a good amount of time, and then she pops back up and is in her person, and then she fades out again, and then blacks out for months on time. And throughout these times, her and Kyle, they're not being able to really get together. Kyle's worried for her, and she has no care in the world about Kyle whenever she's in these blackout phases. It's as if her mother is coming into her body because she starts speaking in this very different, I guess, language, because it's not exactly English. It's old school English, but it's like, "Allow me to gaze upon you, hero. Seems you are always there when we need you." It just feels weird. It feels like there's like an ancient creature inside of her speaking, but she continues to go to Gotham Academy, but also at the same time she's getting saved by this character by the name of Tyler, but she calls him Alphonse. Not quite sure what that is. You also get a sight of what appears to be Scarecrow, who is also feeding Olive Silverlock this medicine that is probably the reason for why she's going in and out so much. But yet again, she continues to go in and out of her person multiple months at a time. And I just felt very convoluted with this title. It was good the first 3 issues, but now it feels like it's a completely different book. And if that was the point of it, of the 5-month hiatus, I think that was a very bad decision. Gotham Academy, for me, comes in at 14th place and is a C. I am also going to be dropping the title. Next, coming in at 13th place, we have Final Boss. This is issue 7, 24 pages for $4. Now, this book starts off with the character of Brazen, Tommy Brazen, going through a flashback of these bullies that are torturing this cat, which is very, very difficult to watch and see for me because I have 2 cats, and for some reason they're always the animal that gets picked on in all these like bully stories where they're like wanting to kill an animal. I'm like, why is it always a cat? So for me, that was a bit difficult to read, but the art is gorgeous in this issue. Tyler Kirkham does the writing and the art with some help from David Miller, but the art is gorgeous. That is definitely one thing you're going to get in this title. It's just the story itself that isn't my favorite anymore. You got this new character that is fighting Tommy Brazen. Her name is Night Owl. She's a character like it sounds. She is a night owl, fights during the night and has this really good vision. Also has a pet owl that helps her with her, I guess, peripheral vision. But they have a fight. They try to give a good backstory for the character, and it wasn't that interesting for me. And it felt like it was more, this issue focused more on her rather than actually Tommy. And that is when I kind of like spaced out of this book, because Tommy is a really interesting character, Tommy Brazen. This Night Owl, I couldn't care less, but they started the fight, and the fight doesn't end in this issue, but it definitely leaves on a cliffhanger of who's going to win. And when it comes to me, right now, I'm trying to cut down on my list, and even though the art is gorgeous in this title, I don't know what the story for this could really be. You're still trying to find your grandfather, I guess, is the overall story. This did nothing to enhance it going forward. If anything, it's just a stall or a filler issue. So for me, it is a C+ book, but also I'm going to be dropping Final Boss. Next, another issue of 51 came out this past week, and it was a solid book once more. This continues this alien story of Area 51, and you have this gigantic boss, a robot boss from Cybertronian. This was basically a play on Transformers and kind of poking fun at that. You get to meet this character, I forget what his name is, but he has a gambling debt and he needs to find a way to make some money. So this is before the Area 51 raid, and he tells his whole backstory of how he was a kid. His father would constantly take him to the casino, and that's when all the best times happened. But that's also when the worst times happened. And now that he's grown up, he found love, he had a kid, and now it's happening over again with his own kid. He wants to get out of it, so his friend group is like, hey, there's this Area 51 raid that we saw happen in the issue 1, and they stole some stuff. They sold this, those 2 robots that we saw at the very beginning, and the massive robot as well. And that's where this issue really started to take place. You saw that he had this helmet, and the dude goes into the robots. I don't know how he got up there. I would have loved to learn more about how he actually climbed through the robots, but he magically gets to the top and he puts it on, and it activates the system of the robots. He tells his story about how he got to the planet Earth and how the government just boxed him up and threw him in Area 51. Then he goes on a rampage and he says that he needs to make space to rebuild the Cybertropian Empire. And then the 2 guards from Area 51 show up. They start to tear down this enemy of the issue, and they pull off the dude pulls the helmet off of himself, causing him a lot of pain, but saying, I won't be your pawn. You kill that little girl, you have to stop this. So he can't pull it off, but then the robots come in, and the 2 Area 51 guards, they pulled the helmet off of him. And this issue was good. It definitely left a pretty cool story, and you can see where it's going with this character who we still don't know the name of, but he's wanting to take over the world with a lot of the Area 51 equipment. Now, this book is good. The only problem with it is, I don't know if you could tell during my review of it, I don't know none of the characters' names. And the fact that we're already 3 issues into this book and I don't know any of their names tells me that it is pretty poor in terms of building a universe that you can live in. Not a universe, but just a story that you can live in when you don't know anybody's names. You probably mentioned them once or twice, but in this whole issue, you don't get the security guards' names. You barely get the actual main character in this issue, that's the gambling addict's name. And you don't even know who the main villain is at the very end. There's no name mentioned of him. So that's my main problem with this book, and that's why it's still a good book. It's visually stunning with Jock. The story is all right with Curt Pyers, but the fact that I don't know what's going on is a huge, huge disappointment. It comes in at 12th place, and it is a C+, and I am also dropping that title. Next, we have Red Roots, issue number 2, 24 pages for $4. This comes in at 11th place. Now, this continues with the assassin waking up in this Red Roots universe, and he does a good job at trying to be brought back to life by this alien-like creature who is known as Gear, and he picks up the teacher who he brought from the human realm, and then the assassin who woke up in his world. He takes them to basically his civilization, and he wants to revive the assassin and make sure that everybody can stay content, because they're going to be very important for what's to come in this universe. He brings them back. He says, hey, you need to calm down. We're all in this together. But then this alien creature revives the assassin, and he starts going crazy. He starts running away. He throws a gas bomb that gives him and the teacher some time to run away. But then he grabs the teacher and he throws her over this cliff tied together. And he's like, hey, if you don't tell me what's going to happen, I'm going to let her drop. And then you hear this horn go off, and that's how you know that the battle is upon them in Red Roots. It was a good issue, but I don't know. It didn't feel... It was such a quick read. There wasn't a whole lot of actual dialogue in this issue. You don't learn more about the universe, and whenever I presume this is going to be a mini-series, you don't learn a whole lot. The assassin and the teacher were basically side characters in this whole issue. The main character was Gear, the alien that is part of the Red Roots, I guess, underworld or whatever. I still give it a C+. It's good visually by Lorenzo De Felici, excuse me. It's a C+, and I'm going to be dropping that title. Next, we go over to the Energon universe. We have Void Rivals, part 6 of 6, the finale to the Quintesson War. This is 32 pages for $4. We see the character of Darok and his father trying to escape the Quintessons, and whenever he's trying to get him out of there, don't argue with me, you have to be strong, you have to be the new general or lead the Agorians to the future. He gets eaten, and that really rocks Darok. And you can just tell that he's having a mental breakdown. Celila shows up and takes him to Zerta Trion, who's trying to plead to Celila and Darok, mainly Celila, that, hey, you need to team up with me. If we're together, that is our only shot. We cannot let the Quintessons, who are so close to getting the creature inside the sacred ring, that we must again prevent unity. There cannot be unity between the Agorians and the Zertonians. Very interesting. And then the Quintesson Tribunal shows up after Celila and Darok were trying to escape with Pythona on this alien-like creature. They're escaping. Then whenever the Tribunal strikes the ship, it lets off a shock that gets the Tribunal to go away from them, and they slowly but surely escape. We also see what's going to happen with Ultim and the kid that he's basically kept as his sidekick from the Zertonians, who was his inside guy. Sorry, I just hit my mic. But they escape, which is kind of what we saw in the, I want to say, Energon Universe 2026 special, where they're going, what happened to them whenever they did leave the planet. The Quintesson Tribunal shows up to Zertonia and General Zalilik, and he's like, hey, I am the war judge. I preside over war. When the war ends, I go in search of more war. You are negotiating terms. Here's how the Tribunal negotiates terms. Which of you wishes to die first? But then they surrender. So that ends the whole Zertonian side of things. We get some Celila and Darok at the very end of this issue, and they're like afraid that they abandoned their people. They didn't do good, but Darok explains, no, we did not abandon our people. The war is far from over. We're coming back. And I wish that it would have ended. I know this is technically the finale to the Quintesson War, and we're going to get some just like interludes from the next issue and then continuing on with the story. It didn't feel like a finale, and that was the only problem with me with Robert Kirkman in this issue. It wasn't actually the end of the Quintesson War. I was kind of feeling like this was going to be some big grand finale. They beat the Quintesson Tribunal. Instead, it's more just like a, I guess, intervention for the Quintesson War. There's still Zerta Trion. There's still the Quintessons out there. Who knows what's happening with them right now after this Quintesson War. It's basically going to be the Agorians and Zertonians regrouping, recollecting their troops to go and fight the Quintessons again. That's why it gets a B- for me. It could have been a lot better, and I don't know. It was all right. It wasn't anything crazy. Next, moving on, we have Green Lantern. This is issue 35. Continuing on with the Kyle Rayner story, this is literally what felt like a filler issue, which makes sense because it's literally titled Filler Episode. We get this guy who can recreate people, and at the very beginning we see him recreating this alien, gonna put him in a different skin. We see the story of Odyssey and Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner continuing on, but then we get Hal Jordan getting, I guess, ambushed after being sold out by this Junia character. And after he gets a lot of money, they're like, okay, it's time to kill Hal Jordan and his girlfriend, who I can't remember at this time. But she then collects the form of a great ape after Junior's like, wait, no, that's not what I brought him to y'all for. I thought y'all were just going to capture him. But then their story will continue in Aquaman. Hopefully that means that Hal Jordan's not going to be in the Green Lantern issues for the next foreseeable future. And I only say that because I just want more Kyle Rayner. I was promised a Kyle Rayner book. This has not been a Kyle Rayner book whatsoever. And you could argue that Odyssey was maybe the main character in this issue, as after Green Lantern goes and takes another one of these alien-like creatures down to return to Oa, or the whatever, he asked him where did he get his skin suit from, because he hibernated or hid out as a human-like creature. Kyle Rayner then shows up back to that hospital where the doctor is, because Odyssey is also going through a bit of a identity crisis. She wants to transform. She feels like she's a burden on everybody. And Kyle Rayner then shows up and mutilates everybody, and they get out of there alive. But we'll see where that leads into the next issue, as you see the creature is showing up, and he'll probably be in the next issue. No clue what that means for Odyssey and Kyle Rayner, but this is exactly what it was titled, filler episode. It was a filler issue. It was solid. The artwork could definitely still be better from Guara. I give Green Lantern a solid B. Next, one of the horror books that came out this week, we had A Quiet Place Storm Warning, issue number 3, 32 pages, $5. There was absolutely no dialogue in this issue whatsoever, but it was still very intense. You felt the creatures coming for the mayor and the daughter of the fire chief in this issue. And you also get a flashback once more to what happened right at the very beginning of this. A family showed up to the city of Pearl after the bridge was no longer there, and they're like making the loudest noise in the world. They're like, hello, because nobody knows about these creatures yet. And then the creature shows up and throws their car 50 million miles into the sky and kills the dad as well. Very heartbreaking for the fire chief to see. He's just like, you are not getting into our goddamn town. Very interesting, very good. You see the continued escape from the mayor and the daughter in this issue. The artwork is really good. And you also get some more of the Brady character, who is, I believe, autistic. He does not being picked up out of his chair. And whenever they try to pick him up out of his chair, he fights back and he's not holding still. But then the storm ends and now they can hear them again. We'll see where that leaves them in the next issue, as we get another flashback to how they broke the bridge and blew it up, and he tried to probably explain to them why it was important. This is a good book. It's a 5-issue mini. If you like the Quiet Place movies, this is still a solid read, and I give it a solid B. Now, coming in at 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7th place, we have, interesting enough, Infernal Hulk issue number 7. This is a 32-page book for $5. We get the Hulk, or not the Hulk, but the Infernal Hulk trying to recruit the X-Men, showing them these visions of what can happen if he joins his living city. He's mainly going after Glob, which is pretty interesting. Then he goes after Leech, who we know can disarm the powers of the X-Men, or at least dampen them, which is very interesting use of the character of Leech. And that Infernal Hulk is using these maybe like C-list or even D-list X-Men characters. I know there's diehard Glob fans, and I'm one of them. So that's kind of why this book was really good for me. And Glob and Quinnen, one of the Kid Omega, they're having a lot of conversations, and like, we're not like him. Mutants aren't monsters, right? Really trying to think about what side they are on. Are we on the right side? Should we maybe join Hulk? Who knows? Because humans don't like us anyways. Maybe we should just join him and have the world given to us, or whatever. Then the Infernal Hulk shows up. They didn't recognize that he was there because of Leech dampening their powers. He comes in, breaks everything after Magneto tries to destroy the Infernal Hulk, but then Infernal Hulk and Magic get into it, saying, what if I took your head with your sword? What would happen? But then he leaves, and they realize that he took Glob. And at the very end, we see Bruce Banner show up, and it looks like we might finally get Bruce Banner trying to become Hulk. It looks like that might happen in issue 8, and we're inevitably going to get World War Hulk coming. Infernal Hulk, a really good issue, coming in at 7th place. Coming in at 6th place, we have The Flash, issue number 33. This is 32 pages for $4. Now, if you did not know where we left off in the Flash title, Wally and Captain Cold are looking for a nuke in Central City after they were told that there's a nuke somewhere in this city and it's about to go off. So the Flash is constantly running around trying to find it. He's panicking. He originally wasn't looking inside the houses because that's against his rules, but then he decided, screw that, I have to start checking people's private locations, such as their basements, their attics, even their bedrooms. And there's a funny moment where there's a couple having some fun in the bedroom. And then Captain Cold starts to interrogate somebody his own style, and the Flash is like, hey, we need to stop doing that. Even though you did a good job, we don't need to do that. But then Linda actually comes through and tells him about this guy who owns this private company, and it's called Limited Liability Investment Company, called Lights Locations Capital LLC. And they find out that he basically is clean, but maybe he offended him in the past, who knows. But Wally has a recollection, and he finds out, oh, I know where the bomb's at. So he takes Captain Cold to this, basically the bullion repository. Behind this safe, he finds a nuke, and it's about to blow up in like 1 second, but Captain Cold uses his cold gun, freezes the thing, and it has extension on the time. They then crack it, pull the cable, and the city is saved. But then the Flash shows up to George Stebbings' job, and George Stebbings says, well, darn, you figured it out. You'll have to pay for that window now, of course. And after Wally's like, why would you do this? That's from a friggin' Bond movie. And Stebbings says, and it was a good one, but there's more to it than that. It would have destabilized the United States as a whole, and there's lots of money to be made in the crisis, a disaster, or better yet, a war. And Wally says, you're going down for this. Stebbings continues, maybe, or maybe you'll find I have powerful friends and have kept my fingerprints far away from this. Wally says, are you stupid? I'm not even a detective, and we have a justice system to rely on, not just you. And then he breaks down the web hosting so that that website or whatever can go down. And then Stebbings is like, really? Why would you do that? We can make people want to kill you. And then what he says is that, but what of the people I was helping, those who I gave hope to by offering them a chance to win, the poor single parents who, Wally cuts him off and says, man, if you want to help poor single parents, George, then help them. But you don't get to say making people jump through your hoops for just a chance at money is aid. It's exploitation, and it sucks. And I don't know if it's illegal, but everything else you've been doing definitely is. Anyway, hold tight. He brings him to justice, and Flash can finally chill out with his family. But then he also finds out how to initiate his flashes of insight, which are very important in this issue and going forward. It's like a muscle that he has to trigger to find out. But now he's the Flash, the fastest man alive, and he can also see into the future whenever he wants. Really good book. Really interesting, expanding on the power set now of Wally West. I think that's going to be huge going forward with the Flash title, with Ryan North and Gavin Guidry. And just because of that alone, I give this solid B+ for the Flash issue number 32 or 33. Now is Superman issue number 38 coming in the top 5. It was a really good book. It could have been a lot better, but I still think it was solid. We got Superman and Witchfire at the very beginning of this issue. Witchfire is trying to recruit Superman Prime, or just Clark Kent, Superboy, who she did not know is a superhero. She thought he was just a regular dude from the comic book shop, but then she finds out that he's a superhero, and he keeps having these like moments of, oh, most of it was an accident, like constantly saying that the words are wrong. And you'll find out why that is later in this issue. But then they have a moment where she kind of takes him out on a date, even though they don't say it's a date initially. There's a lot of flirtation going on. She feels this dark magic at the bottom of Metropolis, and she finds it's Lady Blaze and Lord Satanus. Really cool getting this little bit of magic in the issue of Superboy Prime. But we keep getting this just moments of Superboy Prime just not being able to think straight and go crazy. But then Witchfire has this Wings of Wonder, and it really encapsulates Superboy Prime. He gets pretty attracted to it, and they then escape. And as soon as he's starting to talk, his words get mixed up, and she's like, I have no idea what you're trying to say. And then everything goes crazy. He can't speak English anymore. Witchfire's like, hold on, I can't tell, but maybe your aura is being manipulated. And then he gets plunged through the book, literally, and you find out Manchester Black finally makes his appearance, pulling Superboy Prime essentially out of Earth Zero, or the Prime Earth. And they start their battle, and he takes him to the past, and to a point where Superboy Prime was not so liked in the DC community, takes him back to Infinite Crisis. That is so cool where they left off with Superboy Prime. Superman is still one of the best books on your local comic book shelf. I already shipped these two, Superboy Prime and Witchfire. Definitely could be a power couple in the DC universe if they want to make it. Two very underrated, underutilized characters in recent history. This could be a really interesting power couple. Can't wait to see what happens in the next issue. I think there's a good chance that Witchfire is probably going to save Superboy Prime from Manchester Black, or at least help him escape. Really good book. I give it a B+. Next, kicking off the top 4, probably the book that had the most impact on me and was so good. Very underrated title from Bad Idea. We have to have issue number 2. Now, this is a 32-page comic for the price of $6, but it's also only a 4-issue mini. So we get these characters inside of this hab, and the water has been contaminated by this, I guess, alien-like substance. Everybody starts having these hallucinations. Mina keeps seeing the woman that she killed in a hit and run back in whenever she was on drugs. And then you also see Tammy having this illusion of her former lover, who she loved the most. You also get the doctor seeing somebody that he abandoned, but he recognizes that you're dead. This is a hallucination. And then he alerts the entire facility like, hey, the water's been tainted with, do not do anything. The hallucinations are not real. And then you get the dogs also hallucinating because they are drinking the water too. And they absolutely tear up the chef of the hab, especially the dog. And you can see that they're going crazy by these little, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but these little things of, I guess, dust around their eyes. And that's how you know that they're experiencing hallucinations. They're haunted. The hab is haunted. That's what one of the characters is saying. But they just keep getting this recollection of all these terrible moments in their past. They finally find out what the reason for it is. There's these things inside of the water, and they know that the water is contaminated, but also that they need to take a sample because the water it's so clean, but it's also really small amounts of this stuff that is contaminating them and making them hallucinate so bad. He's like, this is an extremely potent substance. We need to find out how to limit it or just completely get rid of it. And then Faruqi comes in and throws Tammy to the doctor. He shoots him up with this drug that will stop the hallucinations. Then Faruqi continues to go through and find all this different stuff. And you get Mina going through all this crazy stuff. Like, she wants to die. At the very beginning, they're like, you have to die. And she's like, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm not a good person. I'm fine with dying. And they're like, yeah, you can't die yet. Death is not what you think it is. And then we kind of get this backstory of the character who owned the hab and had it constructed, Tuttle. He's like, you wanted us to cover it up. And then you get the flashback to what it was. It was like some ancient civilization, and the entire construction crew all died. They all killed themselves because they got corrupted by whatever this substance or source was. And they became like a cult-like group. They killed themselves for the hab. Really interesting book. If you like just paranormal stuff or just weird ancient stuff, this is a really good book. It's only a 4-issue mini. I'm sure you could probably pick up the first 2 issues from your local comic shop, and I would recommend you getting this book It is so, so good. One of the best horror books I've read in quite a long time. The first issue wasn't as much horror, it was more just building the Hab out. This book really dives into the horror aspects and the psychological effects of the Hab. That's why it's in 4th spot for me and an A- book. Down to the final 3. We have Feral, issue 23. This is also kind of a book with the stray dogs. So you could read it from both sides if you really wanted to, which is such a cool concept. I, of course, read the Feral side first. You have the story of the cats trying to find out how to escape. And while they're trying to escape, because they don't want to get these vaccines, they saw it at the Leyland, the doctors intervene. They take them to the back. They get Elsie and one of the other kittens. I always forget what her name is. Here, let me actually check. I love that they do the characters in this issue. So, so good. Chloe, the one that Lord is really close with. They take them to the back and they give them the vaccine. We'll see how it affects Elsie and, oh my gosh, I literally just read her name. Chloe. We'll see how that affects them going forward in Feral. Will they make it? Will they turn feral? Who knows? And then the stray dogs at the very end. Ghost wakes up and he sees that Moosh isn't there, so he goes to look for them. He frees all the other dogs. They're still freaking out as well. And then you see Ghost found where the incinerator is. And they're like, yeah, these people are killers. We need to get out of here. This was such a good book. Feral / Stray Dogs, issue 23. If you're looking for a good book to jump on, Feral is another great title. I got all the first 4, I think, trades. If you want to wait for the 5th one to come out so you can read all of them at once and then jump onto the main title, side of an animal type of universe. Really good book. I gave it an A-. Now coming in at 2nd place, a book that is still fantastic and would have been number 1 most months, but a book came back this week that does take the 1st place spot. But in 2nd, we have Absolute Wonder Woman. This is issue number 20, the finale to the Seasons of the Witch arc. And it's really so high up and would have been number 1 just on the art alone. Hayden Sherman's paneling, the art style, fits this book and makes it so, so good. As great of a writer as Kelly Thompson is, the art in this issue is just absolutely fantastic. But we get Diana getting caught inevitably by the corrupt organization that she is trying to fight against. And whenever she gets taken back, she's getting tortured. They're running tests on her, trying to cut her skin open and get some blood samples. Everything's kind of not working. But then Hecate, she screams out for them. And whenever she doesn't want them to, after she realizes that Barbara was also taken, she's like, no, it cannot be. Not now. No, I need to save Barbara. They take her back to the witch of, or just the Wild Isle of Hell. And the evil person goes back to talk to Barbara. And she's like, so we have a development. Diana basically just left you. Yeah, we're kind of surprised too. And it really leaves Diana just so angry at the world. She's like, no, screaming out so loud that she creates a lightning bolt, saying, I cannot bear it. I trapped them there. Those I left behind, I abandoned. So, so good. You can feel how angry she is at probably the gods as well. Why did you do this now? Why now? Why couldn't have just waited a couple hours, maybe even a couple minutes? I could have got out there. I could have saved Barbara. I can't believe you made me abandon them. I can't wait to see where this goes in the next issue with Kelly Thompson. Is this going to really be a huge effect on the character of Diana? Who knows? It's still an A book regardless. So, so fantastic. Absolute Universe never misses. And then finally, the top spot goes to Escape, issue 7. It was on my buy or sell. This book is just fantastic. If you want to go more full in depth with how I think about this book, go check out my buy or sell. I went extremely in depth with this book. Milton, such a great character, such a character that people can probably look at and emphasize with, especially if you have a history of veterans in your family. This is just such a great book. World War II book, essentially, but with animals replacing humans. a great book if you just want to escape from the world, if you just want to dive into this world, feel just the intensity, go through these pages, through these panels. Daniel Acuna, a great job. Rick Remender, just great writing. The Escape, you feel like you're in a war movie. It was just so good. Escape, issue number 7. Definitely recommend you getting the first trade and then getting this book. Hopefully there's still a couple issues left at your local comic shop. But Escape is the pick of the week, and it is an A+ comic book. But guys, reminder, I will not be posting from June 1st to June 9th. I will be on vacation. Sorry, but it's summertime. I gotta go and enjoy it a little bit. So just remember though, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe. I will be back. Do not worry about that. June 10th, New Comic Book Day, will be my next video. But guys, remember, keep reading those panels panel by panel, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.